With the Tennessee Titans and the Cleveland Browns securing the number 1 and number 2 picks, it's almost a shoo-in that both of these teams will secure quarterbacks with their 2 picks. Or are they? With this in mind, the New York Giants also have to come up with 2, possibly 3 different plans of action should this scenario not go as planned. Want to find out what the plan should be in case Cam Ward and Shedeur Sanders are the number 1 and number 2 picks overall? Stay tuned to find out on Gridiron Gab Pro Style.
The autumn winds move like the thunderous waves of Neptune's sacred palace. And here, amongst the blackened soil, lies the ragged hands, worn, torn, and callous. They await with cunning and vicious prowess, for the warriors have returned.
Come on, Dutch! Don't do it! Woo! No way! Woo! 85! Crying out loud! You're making me, you're driving me nuts!
But behold.
Welcome back, Gabbers. Thank you so much for joining us on another edition of Gridiron Gab Pro Style. Of course, you gabbing with the one and only Mr. CeeLo here. And guys, I must tell you, it's getting towards that time of the year. It's getting very exciting. And as much as I would love to have the first pick in this year's draft, I'm kind of glad I don't. But the New York Giants are a team that sits here awaiting the possibility of either taking one of the 2 quarterbacks that many have argued are not worthy of the first pick. You know, that's, as I've said many times before, that's a debate that many can have. I'm not going to be caught up in it. I think they're good enough to be, as well as warrant the first overall pick, regardless of what some people say. One of the quarterbacks you could question whether or not that he is worthy of that first or second pick. But nonetheless, these 2 guys are getting a lot of attention. And as of late, these picks are looking as though that the number 1 and number 2 picks are either going to be moved or these teams are going to go for the other skill players in this draft. But only time will tell, and only that Thursday night will tell us what's going on. But tonight, Mr. CeeLo is going to give New York Giants fans hope. A hope that even if they don't secure Shedeur Sanders or Cam Ward's services, they still have the ability to secure not only a quarterback, but to be able to have a much more efficient and dynamic draft than they would have been able to have, despite the fact they're able to get their quarterback or their offensive line. But with that being said, let us go through where Mr. CeeLo was able to get some things done. Now, before you guys get to talking, I want to go ahead and let you guys know what I was able to procure outside of the players. First thing is I was able to get a first-round pick walking out of here, as well as a Kansas City 3rd, Kansas City 4th, and get back our New York Giants 7th round pick that we lost. But without further ado, let us go through the draft and let you guys know that we were able to attain 15 draft picks.
Damn, I'm good.
That's right. I know a lot of you are going to look at me and say, what the heck are we going to do with 15 draft picks? I will tell you. You've got some guys that are going to be very good special team players, and you're going to have some serious depth at one particular position that many of you may not understand why you need it, but when you get through listening to what's going on, you will understand why you procured that much depth, courtesy of Mr. CeeLo. As many of you know, the salary cap increased to at least $22 extra million, which is good news for the Giants, but needless to say, doesn't necessarily mean a whole lot if they cannot get a certain caliber of player to buy into what Brian Daboll is trying to do. But I ultimately believe they're going to be able to get a lot of that in the draft. That's what I ultimately believe is going to happen with the New York Giants. I think they're going to be able to get some really good pieces if they handle this correctly. Not exactly like the way I'm going to do it, but if they handle it similarly to what I think. Now, many of you guys who watch my show totally understand that the draft is a life of its own. But before we get further into this, I want to give a shout out. I want to give a gab out to my man Brad, who has joined me from my other show, saying howdy. Go Bird Dogs. I can't deal with you. What's up, man? Then I want to get with RMacDog474, who says, if a team wants to trade, and he's commenting on the Myles Garrett show, where he says if a team wants to trade for Myles Garrett, they also have to take Deshaun Watson and eat some of his contract in exchange for 2 of their top 2 players, plus 2 first-round picks, 1 in 25 and 1 in 26. Listen, I'm going to give you a heart for your comment, but no. Mac Dog, that's not going to happen, brother. I mean, they'll be fortunate if they get a first and a second in this year's draft, not a first next year. I mean, you're talking about a guy who's got, what, I think 2 years left on his, he's got next year and the year after. And then you're asking him to eat the shot. No, you're not going to get that. If anything, and this is good that you bring this up, I think you'd be fortunate if a team took Deshaun Watson. Now, and that's even without Deshaun Watson. You're talking about asking for for a franchise to eat up Deshaun Watson's cap and then turn around and give them 2 first? Nah. That's going to be part of the deal. If you get Myles Garrett, for them to get Myles Garrett and they say, okay, we'll take Deshaun Watson, but we're only giving you a second. You might get a third next year, being that you got to take that cap space. And I understand where you're coming from. If you're a Browns fan, I totally understand. You want that cap gone. And this would eliminate the cap hell situation that Cleveland is in currently. But you're not going to ask a team to take on half that salary and then turn around and give up 2 of their best players and 2 first picks. That's a lot. You couldn't even get a team to agree with giving 2 of their best players and then eating Deshaun Watson. No. I mean, you're basically asking a team to do 5 different things for one player. And Garrett's approaching 30. That's another thing. You're not getting him in the prime of his career. You could argue he's approaching the twilight of his career. He's still a dominant player, but I can tell you those days where he was just taking a game over, there's only a handful of those left. Yeah. But great comment. I mean, it gives me a gauge on what some people are thinking, but that's not going to happen. But let us move to the New York Football Giants. As many people are suspecting, they are the curtain call behind all of this, because needless to say, you've got the Tennessee Titans who are sitting at the first pick, and then you've got the Cleveland Browns, as we said, with the second pick. There's going to be I believe one of these teams is going to trade out, and it possibly could be the New York Giants. I don't think you need to do that. I think one of these teams is going to hesitate on these quarterbacks, and one's going to fall in your lap. And I will do a show where they take a quarterback, one of these 2 quarterbacks, with the first and second pick. But for tonight, here is the consolation prize, or the consolation draft. To me, this is almost the perfect draft for the New York Giants, barring that Shedeur Sanders and Cam Ward are not available. The Giants will not pick until the 29th overall pick. Now, a lot of Giants fans are going to probably go, what? Now, remember, we got 15 picks. Before you start losing your mind, I will have you know that we get 6 players in the top 66. Totally revamping that offense completely. Basically, you get one whole side of your offensive line in this draft. Arguably, you get two weapons and a defensive starter. But let's get on it. With the first pick for the New York Giants, they pick at number 29, and they will be selecting out of Ohio State the 23rd ranked prospect in this draft, Josh Simmons. The 6'5", 311-pound offensive tackle, once projected as the top offensive tackle in 2025, saw his season cut short by a knee injury that requires surgery. Despite the setback, Simmons has declared for the draft and remains a potential early round pick, pending clear medical evaluations. At 6'5", 310 pounds, his strength and fluid movement underline his dominance when healthy. Listen, this can't get no worse for the Giants on the offensive line. You get a guy in Josh Simmons that's been an All-American and an All-Conference type player. Granted, he's coming off of a knee surgery and whatnot, but at the end of the day, this guy is going to be a lot better than what you've had before. And I think this is a step in the right direction for the Giants. Then we move on to the 42nd pick, and one of the major concerns was the interior. And outside of getting the best guard in the game, you got the second best in Wyatt Milum out of West Virginia. 6'6", 315 pounds. Milum brings a rare combination of intelligence, toughness, technical skill to the offensive line. While he projects as a guard at the next level, his consistency in pass protection makes him a valuable asset, especially for quarterbacks who struggle with pocket awareness. Keep that in mind. His physicality shines in the run game, where his aggressive style punishes second-level defenders. Milum's smart, disciplined approach ensures he's always in the right position, maximizing his impact on every snap. Now, that's going to be very important when you got guys like Tyrone Tracy and Devin Singletary. And honestly, not in this draft, but in another draft that I'm going to let you guys know, I ended up procuring a very dangerous runner. Well, actually, I ended up taking a running back in this draft that actually slid. So I had no choice on that one. When you see great players slide, you got to go at it. You got to. And ultimately, when you start looking around at what the Giants have on offense, it's very little other than Malik Neighbors. You could throw in Tyrone Tracy. Jalen Hyatt has been a disappointment in a large degree. Darius Slayton has been very inconsistent. So has Wan'Dale Robinson. A lot of these guys have been very, very inconsistent. So then we move forward and start looking at the possibility of a guy who is slowly climbing back up in the draft boards that I've dealt with today and part of yesterday. Quarterback Jalen Milroe out of Alabama. Now, many of you are probably going to say, why would you waste a pick here? I don't think this is a pick. A waste. I think ultimately with what I'm going to do in this draft, this is going to be a high-end pick. I do think, however, that that the Giants need to add another big receiver. I think that's going to be an ultimate one to go with Malik Neighbors. I think this is the way Neighbors was last season, he was absolutely phenomenal. And I think if you could add a possible tight end threat as well as a big wide receiver, that would be absolutely just instrumental. And I believe had I seen a couple of these guys would not have gone off the board the way they have. There have been guys in the receiving corps that are in the late third or middle third round that I would have added for the New York Giants to go with it. There's a couple of guys that are at the end of the late third round, such as Torrey Horton, 6'3", and Caden Prather, 6'3" as well. There's some really good players, wide receivers that are near the end of this draft or in the middle of this draft that are going to be extremely big-time steals. But we've got Jalen Milroe as the quarterback of the New York Giants. The one thing that separates him is even if the line is not good, his improvisation skills are going to be dynamic. And it's going to bring huge dividends for guys such as Darius Slayton, who like to get down the field, as well as Malik Neighbors. And if they can get these young guys or these tight ends that I've drafted on the same page, this is going to be phenomenal. But Jalen Milroe stands out as the most athletic quarterback on this list, boasting a cannon for an arm and elite athleticism, rivaling even last year's Caleb Williams. However, his accuracy in the 10 to 19 yard range needs improvement. If he sharpens his intermediate passing, Milroe's game will be complete. For now, his raw athleticism lets him outrun SEC linebackers, while his arm strength can deliver strikes to receivers with minimal separation. Development is key, but his natural gifts already set him apart. At 6'1", 220, the thing about Jalen Milroe is he's so quick. He reminds me a lot of a slower Michael Vick. Now, that's not to say he's slow, but the reality of it is Milroe's going to have to understand that at this level, he's going to have to get down. It's not going to be a situation where he's going to be able to run over these linebackers. You'll learn to take it. Bo Nix found this out. You'll take what you can, get down. And I think ultimately they're going to try to surround him with as many fast guys as they can. Neighbors is a guy that always knows how to get open. Slayton's another guy that knows how to get open. This could turn in, Giants fans, to either a straight chip away, run, and then bomb them. That's what it has the potential to be. You know, they said they've already drawn comparisons to Caleb Williams, but there's one thing about it. Caleb Williams' athleticism does not match what Jalen Milroe has. It doesn't. So if you can take whatever you want to take out of this, to me, Jalen Milroe is far superior of a quarterback than what Caleb Williams is. Call it what you will. This guy is going to be the goods, in my opinion, if he's in the right system. Let him use his legs for a couple of years. You get guys like Malik Neighbors that are able to get open and build his confidence. The Giants could be back next year if Daboll doesn't do what he did with Daniel Jones, which was limit his ability to run. But I don't think that's going to happen because Daniel Jones wasn't a dynamic runner. He was just honest enough to keep you guessing. Now, moving on to the next pick at 61. I was surprised to find this guy even available. But I will tell you this. A lot of people are sleeping on this guy, mainly because he's from Bowling Green. But it's tight end Harold Fannin Jr. out of Bowling Green. 6'3", 238 pounds. Fannin is dynamic, explosive tight end who plays with power and versatility of Deebo Samuel type weapon. Though he may not fit the traditional mold at his position, his rocked up frame, sudden burst, and elite contact balance make him a nightmare for defenders. He's a relentless playmaker who thrives with the ball in his hands, turning routine plays into highlight-worthy moments with sheer force and creativity. Now, I will say this about Harold Fannin. It's possible that the lack of supreme competition may undoubtedly thwart this pick. But I will say this, being that he was available at 61, he was ranked 35th player on the board, speaks volumes. If you get a player like this that falls, there's a reason. Maybe teams don't see something that the evaluators saw. Jump on it. I think the Giants could hugely benefit when you got a guy that's going to be playing quarterback like Jalen Milroe with a Deebo Samuel type player. Especially if you put him in the backfield or you run him in motion, hand it off to him a couple times, and then get the defense sliding one way. You get Milroe going one way. Or even get Tracy going one way with Jalen Milroe, and you're running a triple option. It doesn't matter how you get it done, Giants fans, as long as you get it done, right? Now, I know many of you are going to look at me and say, why in the world would you take another tight end? Well, because here's the thing. Mason Taylor is 6'4", is well-rounded with a blend of athleticism, size, and a football IQ that allows him to contribute as both a receiver and a blocker. As a pass catcher, he runs clean routes and displays reliable hands, consistently securing catches in traffic and stretching the field down the seams. Taylor's physicality and willingness to engage defenders makes him an effective blocker on both the run and the passing game. His versatility enables him to line up in multiple positions, creating mismatches against linebackers and safeties. Continued refinement of his technique, especially as a route runner, and improving his strength will elevate his impact as a tight end, a complete tight end. Now, He's not complete yet, but he's there. He's more complete than Fannin is. Fannin is more of a guy with the ball in his hands. He's not what you call a traditional tight end where you line up on first down, fake the handoff, there he is. Fannin's one of those guys, he's a gadget guy. So this is why I went and got Mason Taylor. Because needless to say, you can always use multiple tight ends. And this was a need for the Giants. I don't care what anybody says. This was a need with Daniel Bellinger and Chris Mertz and Greg Dulcich. These are guys that you don't have. Theo Johnson. These are guys that don't strike fear in anyone. But the only thing is you're going to have to get Milroe accustomed to throwing it and checking it down to his tight ends. That's what you got to have. And then you've got two weapons right here that the defenses are going to have to account for. And that makes it huge for guys such as Malik Neighbors and Darius Slayton and even Jalen Hyatt. When you get these guys on the field, if you can get these guys to eat up the seams and these guys can come underneath at times and get the ball in their hands with that speed, listen, with Jalen Milroe's speed, you'll have the defense guessing all day. Now, I see a lot of New York Giants fans are probably going to be turning their nose up at me, but hey, if this went this way, you guys will be shocked. But let's go to the 66 pick and the final pick of the top 66. We will select the 75th ranked cornerback in the draft because that is a need. Denzel Burke at 6'1", 190 pounds. Burke has shown flashes of high-level play, showcasing fluid movement, quick bursts that make him a promising cornerback prospect. While consistency has been a challenge, his natural athleticism and ability to recover quickly stand out. When playing with confidence, he can be a lockdown defender. Improving his deep coverage and maintaining focus throughout games will be key to unlocking his full potential at the next level. Now, understanding that Denzel Burke has seen some high-level competition is what's key to here. Because ultimately, when you're playing the Eagles and you're playing the Commanders as well as the Cowboys, you're going to have some really good cornerback play. If you can get some good and elite cornerback plays, or just some average, with guys like Brian Burns and Kayvon Thibodeau coming off the edge, and then not to mention you've got possibly Dexter Lawrence hopefully coming back healthy next year, which we will be talking about that too. You can possibly turn this defense into not only a major strength, but you could turn it into a points maker, a difference maker, because they can start getting turnovers when you get guys on the edge that can make plays. You've already got Adoree Jackson and Deonte Banks. If you can get another guy in there to play that nickel and change the course of what you want to do, I'm trying to tell you. Then you get pick 109. I know a lot of people are going to scratch their head. Why do we need another edge guy? And Josiah Stewart. Now, I'm going to tell you why you take Josiah Stewart. Now, a lot of people are going to scratch their head and wonder, what are you doing? Well, because he's the 87th ranked prospect. Josiah Stewart is an explosive, relentless edge rusher who thrives on creating disruption in the backfield. He possesses a quick first step, uses his speed and agility to challenge offensive tackles off the edge. Stewart's compact frame and strong leverage allow him to maintain balance while employing a variety of pass rush moves to shed blockers effectively. He's a high-energy player who excels in pursuit, demonstrating excellent closing speed and the ability to chase down plays from the backside. He needs to add strength in order to enhance his run-stopping ability, and his size could leave him stuck between roles in the NFL. Now, while many of you will look and say, that's a negative, understand something. Brian Burns, Kayvon Thibodeau have had not major injury history, but they've had injury history. And I think fresh Thibodeau, fresh Burns. What you think about that, Giants fans? What do you think about a fresh Kayvon Thibodeau and a fresh Brian Burns? I'm going to be honest with you. If you can keep these two guys fresh, this would be massive when you're getting in a situation when it's the fourth quarter. Those tackles are getting tighter and they're getting pushed around, and you're seeing two different types of pass rushers. Okay, you're watching film on Burns and Thibodeau, but let's say you bring in Stewart. He changed the whole course of the game because guess what? Oh, wait a minute. I ain't seen this before.
God damn!
Just think about it. Then with the 114th pick, I got something like I told you guys. When you start seeing guys that are just sitting there on the board and you're like, what is this? DJ Giddens is the 90th player in this draft, and he was just sitting there 24 places afterwards, so I had to snag him up. And I know a lot of people are going to say, well, what's the big deal? Okay, Giddens is 6'1", 212 pounds. Out of Kansas State. A versatile running back with the ability to impact the game as both a runner and a receiver. He runs with a physical style, displaying excellent balance and the ability to break tackles in tight spaces. Giddens combines good vision and patience with a strong burst through the hole, making him effective between the tackles and in open space. As a receiver, he shows reliable hands and the ability to create mismatches against linebackers. The main concerns with Giddens are the lack of elite top-end speed, and his ability to be a reliable pass blocker. However, he is relatively new to the position, so there is plenty of development potential. I watched this kid at Kansas State, and honestly, Kansas State's offense was not that impressive. You had Giddens, who had some really good games, and he was one of the elite playmakers in all of college football. So you could argue that this guy can be a huge asset, especially in the passing game. The only problem is he can't be a pass blocker. He's going to have to go out, which you will have to. I think Jalen Milroe is so good at adjusting that he would be able to make things happen on the fly with Giddens, especially being able to get that ball up the field on those, out of the backfield, not necessarily wheel routes, but out of the backfield routes that go up the field. Then you get the 150th pick, a guy whom I'm very familiar with. As many of you know, I am an Irish guy, and I know a lot of you are going to say, you pick an Irish guy for every team. Well, if they're sitting there, I'm going to go for it because I know what these guys can do. And looking here at number 150, the 126th ranked prospect was sitting right there, and defensive tackle Howard Cross. He's 6'1", 288 pounds, is a rough and relentless defensive lineman known for his high motor and physicality. He excels at using his leverage and arm strength to disrupt plays in the trenches, particularly against the run. Cross displays excellent hand technique and low pad level, allowing him to shed blocks and control his gaps effectively. While not the flashiest pass rusher, he generates pressure with effort and technique, collapsing the pocket and forcing the quarterback off their spot. While his size can help him at times, it could also be an issue at the NFL level as he can be taken out of the play with double teams as well as struggling to control blockers in one-on-ones. Now, as I said, you're looking at a defensive front that was really banged up last season with Dexter Lawrence missing time. And the reality of it is this defensive line was not nearly as efficient with him out of the lineup. You got to get some guys in that line. And I will share with you another draft that I did where I actually did address this issue. But here it's Howard Cross. This is a guy that can come in there, like I said, and he can be effective in the block game. And even when he doesn't get to the quarterback, he's pushing that pocket, which is absolutely paramount when you've got guys like Kayvon Thibodeau and Brian Burns that are coming hard off the edges and they push the quarterback into a pocket that's collapsed. It allows them to get to him, or it allows balls to get batted down or stripped. That's exactly what the Giants are going to need this year. That's why I said this draft here is going to be the wreck, the defensive wreck, the wrecking crew that they're going to have. They're going to create a wrecking crew. This if they can get this group, this would be a wrecking crew of a defensive front. Then there's the 155th pick. Now, a lot of you are going to say I'm getting ridiculous because I went two Notre Dame guys back to back. Quarterback Riley Leonard. Now, a lot of you are going to say, what? Well, and let me answer this. Let me help you out with something. Because if Jalen Milroe gets hurt, you've got a guy who pretty much is the exact carbon copy, except he's not as fast. Riley Leonard, 6'3", 210. It's easy to make comparisons because they played in the same uniform for a long time. But Riley Leonard and Daniel Jones are incredibly similar. I know you guys don't want to hear this. Leonard can operate within the confines of a quick passing game and can be a legitimate danger on the hoof as an improviser and on the design looks. He also lacks downfield desire and ability, the downfall of Jones's career as a starter. Nevertheless, Riley could be an intriguing draft and development candidate for whom you could create offensive packages under center, playing a Taysom Hill-esque type role while trying to extract some aggressiveness out of his naturally careful game. The thing about Leonard was, if you guys watched the national title game, I totally believe his game was restricted because of the coaching staff. As a Notre Dame fan, I was frustrated when I sat and I watched Ohio State playing man press coverage and Leonard was eating it up. Now, this is something we hadn't seen all season out of him. And the reality of it is, I saw hope when I saw him in that national title game. Made me wonder, why did the coaching staff wait until they got down 30 points before they decided, hey, we're going to put the ball up? You cannot do that if you got a guy like Riley Leonard who is confident in his ability. Riley Leonard gained confidence when it was a situation where, hey, look, I'm going to do this. So if any of you have any doubts about Riley Leonard's ability as a quarterback, just go back and watch that second half of that Ohio State game. Ohio State wasn't trying to walk out of there. They were playing tight man coverage, and Leonard was dropping dimes. Just saying, Giants fans, this guy can do more than just run the football. Especially if Miro is to get banged up or so on and so forth. Then let's move on to pick number 159, which happens to be edge rusher Savion Jones out of LSU. Now, I know a lot of you guys are going to say, what, an edge rusher again? Bruh. This is just too good to pass up. 6'5", 289 pounds. Savion Jones is a powerful athletic pass rusher with a strong physical playing style and a relentless approach to the edge. Off the edge. The former multi-sport high school athlete has NFL-ready size, 6'6", 280, and he's still honing his pass rushing skills. With his natural length, he effectively creates leverage and showcases impressive techniques, including strong swim move with his long arms. A team should consider taking a chance on Jones early on day 3 of the draft. Now, Savion Jones could be a dude that you take in case something happens to Kayvon Thibodeau and he's not the same player that he started out as. We saw that. We saw that with Chase Young. And guys, I'm going to say it. I don't wish anything bad on Kayvon Thibodeau. Neither do I do with Brian Burns. But ultimately, when you get a guy that is this type of specimen and you could get that many guys, you could create that 3 defensive end type pass rush you had years ago when you won the Super Bowl. 3 defensive ends on 3rd and long. Run. Don't knock the pick till you see it. Pick number 170. I know a lot of y'all are going to be getting tired of me. Jameer Caldwell, defensive tackle out of Oregon. I know. You guys are like, why? We don't need this many tackles. Well, when you see 6'2", 342 pounds, Jameer Caldwell pairs an eye-catching first step with a beautiful natural leverage and a knack for disengaging from blocks and making plays on runners. He plays with an almost immeasurably wide base to thwart the efforts of double teams, and his aggressive nature to cut off reach blockers makes him effective against wide zone and downhill runs. Now, the reason why this is efficient is because Dexter Lawrence will be 28 years old halfway through the season. He don't need to be playing every down, especially every run down. Because Dexter Lawrence, yes, while he is a very good run stopper, he's also a very good pass rusher. And that is ultimately what you want out of him. You want pass rushing out of Dexter Lawrence. And if you can get as many of these guys on here who specialize in certain things, that's what you want. You want to be able to get that 9-sack Dexter Lawrence out there with the Kayvon Thibodeaus and the Brian Burns or even the Josiah Stewarts at times. That's what you want. Look at what the Eagles did. Listen, the Eagles just basically, in a nutshell, confirmed what I've been saying. A straight-up strong front line. I don't care how many big guys you got. You can load your defensive line with first-round picks all day. It don't matter how bad the guys on the back seven are. You got that front four, front five right. It's gonna be a long day. The Eagles proved that. Then with the number 210 pick 210, I took offensive tackle Jalen Travis out of Iowa State. Now, Jalen Travis was playing on an Iowa State team that ran the ball super efficiently. He uses his hands exceptionally well, but I think ultimately with a guy like this, he's probably going to end up being more suitable to play on the interior, being that he has issues somewhat with the better pass rushers in his career. But with that being said, you still got issues on that Giants offensive line, and you could find somewhere to place a guy like Jalen Travis at 6'7", 341 pounds. Could you imagine him being at the guard position? Yeah.
Cut it out.
Once again, with the 221st pick, I'm going right back to that tackle position. I know, but this one was too good to pass up. Ty Hamilton, defensive tackle out of Ohio State. Although we didn't hear his number called very, very much, this guy was always pushing the pile and creating a lot of chaos up front for the Ohio State Buckeyes. This is a depth piece. He's not a guy that's going to consistently create a lot of sacks, but he is a guy that is going to consistently cause and wreak havoc up on your offense front. He's a great gadget piece. Excuse me. He's going to be a great depth piece for the guys that you're going to have initially. And finally, with pick 248, it's going to be linebacker Colin Oliver. Now, ultimately, I didn't see enough guys in there that really struck my fancy, but ultimately, I took the best player available. Not going to kid you, out of Oklahoma State, 6'1", 242 pounds. Ultimately, he could be a depth piece and be a special teamer. So, needless to say, he was just a guy that, he ate up the last choice, and I really don't know too much about him, but according to this, he's a good tackler, and that's ultimately you're going to always need excellent tacklers. But that's going to wrap up what we got so far, but we'll go do a complete run through as to what we drafted in the New York Giants draft without Cam and Shedeur. Number 29, we took tackle Josh Simmons out of Ohio State. Number 42, we took Wyatt Milliam out offensive guard out of West Virginia. 47, we took quarterback Jalen Milroe out of Alabama. Number 61, we took Harold Fainin Jr., tight end out of Bowling Green. Number 63, we took Mason Taylor, tight end out of LSU. Number 66, cornerback Denzel Burke out of Ohio State. Pick number 109, Josiah Stewart, edge rusher from Michigan. Number 114, DJ Giddens, running back out of Kansas State. Pick number 150, defensive tackle out of Notre Dame, Howard Cross III. Pick 155, quarterback Riley Leonard out of the University of Notre Dame. Pick number 155, Savion Jones, edge rusher out of LSU. Pick 170, defensive tackle out of Oregon, Jameer Caldwell. Pick 210, Jalen Travis, offensive tackle out of Iowa State. Pick number 221, Ty Hamilton, defensive tackle, Ohio State. Pick 248, Colin Oliver, linebacker, Oklahoma State. Not to mention, guys, we ended up with the 2026 Washington first-round pick, the 2026 KC third and fourth, and the 2026 New York Giants seventh-round pick, and we were able to maintain all 7 picks that were ours. So we attained 3 extra picks, you guys, and I might say myself that this could possibly be the best draft that you guys could get, Giants fans. To me, this is the best, other than the fact that I would replace a couple of these guys with 2 of those late receivers, which I ended up doing later on. But there are going to be a couple of more that I'm going to bring to the party, and hopefully make you guys very happy. But guys, let me know what you think. What do you think about the picks that were made here? What would you do differently? Would you take the third or fourth player, which I did not do a good job here? I was supposed to take the results of the first and second round and show you what the picks look like. But I will do that on the next broadcast, you guys. But let me know what you think about no Shedeur, no Cam.
It's official. You suck.
So let me know what picks you like, which ones you didn't. Do you like the fact that I'm double and triple dipping at a position that you guys really don't need? Or do you think it is necessary to do that? I think it is. But go to my Facebook page at Gridiron Guy Pro Style. Let me know what you think. Also, join the group so that you can get the updates and get involved with the polls that we're involved in. Also, go to my Instagram at Mr. CeeLo so you can catch up with all the shenanigans that I am involved in. And make sure you comment below so I can have somebody to talk to besides Brad.
Bruh.
Nothing but love for you, brother. But thank you all for your comments, and until the next time, same Gab channel, same Gab platform.
But behold, there is a warm breeze that comes from the west. The blazing sounds of victory fuel their everlasting quest. It is a call to arms, for they are here. An army that has the will to challenge and the will to dare.
Whatever it takes to get in that end zone! Go, go, go!